away from the bear.
As far as you can.
50 yards, at least 50 yards. So not feet, but yards. Now, I'll tell you a little bit of a story about one of our rangers. He's a really nice guy. He's a good friend. A couple of years ago, he was over in Cades Cove. And if you've been to Cades Cove, you know there's lots of traffic around Cades Cove, and there are bears in Cades Cove. Well, he came up on a group that was out in the field, and there was a bear out there. And you can tell bears are getting agitated because they'll start to prance back and forth. If that happens, that's not a good sign. So he parks his car, and he goes out and says, you know, you guys need to come back away from the bear a little bit. And so they're sort of backing up, and the more they back up, the more agitated this bear gets. So it's growling, and bears will pop their jaws. If you ever get one agitated enough, it sounds like a firecracker going off. They can snap their jaws. Well, it was snapping its jaws, which is a sign it is getting ready to charge. So they backed all the way back, and they're at a fence row. And they back up to the fence row, and he said, I'm standing here, and I've got 7 or 8 people gathered around me, and the bear charges. And he said, I could see my whole life flashing before my eyes. The bear got about 30 yards from him and stopped, and was just, couldn't believe it. And he heard something, he looked up, and right above him, 2 cubs in the tree. What had happened was, the closer they got to the cubs, the madder the mom got. So he took the group and moved around. Mom went back out in the field, and she was perfectly fine. So we tell that story to say, if you're ever hiking on any of the trails in the park and you see a bear, first thing you do is, number one, watch, be sure but look behind you, be sure, and look up, because the cubs are normally up in the trees. And be sure that you're not between mom and her cubs. That's really the only time in the park we have really any trouble, is when people get between mom and her cubs. They do not like that at all. But it really scared him, and he tells that story all the time. But he said, so from now on, every time I see a bear, I always look behind me, look up, to be sure I'm not going to get the charge. But he said, I thought it was all over with right then.
So the ones we saw at the convention center Monday night, people didn't know that. They were getting really close.
Yeah, just that. But again, if you see one on the trail, just back up. If you're in a group, stay together. The bigger the group, chances are the bear's not going to bother anything bigger than he is. Make yourself as big as possible. And then, like I say, if the bear keeps coming towards you, give him the right of way. Just back off the trail. But I've been hiking in the park 35 years or longer. I've seen bears on trails, and I have never had a bear encounter that was even significant. I mean,